Hey everybody, Neil here with PlanSource. Welcome back to the Weekly Source, our Eclipse edition. My guest today, Mark Stelzner, founder, managing partner of IA. Welcome, man.
Great to be here.
Thank you so
thanks
much
for having me. This is beautiful.
It's your third Eclipse?
Second.
Second Eclipse,
Yeah.
Awesome. So what keeps you coming back to Eclipse?
The energy, the sessions, the beauty, challenging the status quo, thinking differently about, frankly, everything our industry needs to ponder. So,
Totally.
yeah.
And your session last night was awesome. It was the kickoff session titled Clearing, or There's a Storm Brewing in the Cloud.
Yeah.
A little ominous, right? As
Yeah,
we're
sure.
Technology providers,
Yeah.
and we're trying to sell technology, get folks on new technology, but there's added elements. One, it's the decreased communication. So go a bit in some of the takeaways of that session.
Yeah, I mean, foundationally, it's not safe or popular to talk about the difficult portions that come with SaaS and cloud technology. The goal is that it's easier. We no longer need our IT partners. HR can govern and manage these systems. And that, frankly, it's just a configuration. You push a button, you choose a slider, you put it into production,
Sure.
and it's easy peasy. The reality is the pace of innovation is relentless. Organizations can't consume the amount of change. They've established no protocols for relationship management and governance. They're not trained. There is no muscle memory in how to self-govern
Sure.
and self-manage technology, nor are they necessarily the best proxies for how to activate this technology for their employees,
Yeah.
for their managers, for their people leaders, for the retirees, for anyone who may touch or embrace this technology. So our point being that we need to have these conversations.
Yeah.
We need to have them early. We need to talk about fit. We need to talk about culture. The people side of this equation is pushed down. It's expensive.
Yeah.
There are real costs, there are emotional and financial costs associated with it. And what I'm trying to do is put a spotlight on that because we want to put energy into it to turn the tide against the failure,
Yeah.
the pervasive failure that we're seeing with these projects.
We've got control measures in any technology implemented. It's more
Sure.
of that on the human side of it.
Exactly.
Who's actually using the technology, trying to adopt it, and their own employees and everyone kind of benefiting or being affected from it, right?
Without question.
Awesome. And with that, there's a ton of trends that you're seeing today in HR and technology. I mean, what's got you excited about the future of HR?
Yeah, I mean, there's
crystal ball question.
Sure, no, I appreciate the question. I mean, there's a lot of energy around this notion of the employee experience. But what's funny about the conversation is we think of discrete processes, just like HR is organized in discrete processes. So we think about employees show up and you decide to do a performance review in a 360. It's the first day of annual enrollment. That's your priority that day, is to consume the materials, log on, et cetera. The reality is the personal and professional collisions that we all experience in our lives, I mean, these are messy, complex realities. And so I'm finding organizations now are starting to flip the script. It used to be about how do we get the most out of the employee. Some organizations are starting to say, how do we serve the employee? It's HR's job to activate, to support, to facilitate on behalf of the employee, but it requires you to deconstruct what they're actually going through, to focus on those moments that matter. And a lot of thought leader organizations are throwing out the playbook in terms of how HR is structured, on how they think about the 24/7 nature of how we work. I'm sure you go home at night and you stop working. Right?
Always. Yeah.
Just like when you're at work right now, you stop thinking about your family or your personal goals. We were talking earlier about running, like it's beautiful outside today. I'd like to go running right now. We're working. The reality is that we are all full humans with emotions, key care-abouts, key moments. That's what I want to talk about in the employee experience. It's not a technology conversation.
Sure.
Technology can enable, can accelerate, can foster, can inform, but actually thinking about the human side, and frankly, that humans right now have choices. There are over 2 million more jobs open in the United States alone than there are people looking for work.
Yeah.
So the power is in the candidate and in the employee, and it's about time for them to activate that power.
I love it.
So
Yeah,
I'm super excited
technology
about
is a vessel, right?
Exactly.
Time to change those roles. So that's awesome. Well,
Thanks.
if you're watching this and you're saying, this guy's voice is incredible, he should be a voice actor. What the heck, he actually is. And I think there's probably a story in how you got into voice acting, right?
Yeah. So I like to joke I have a face for radio, but when I first got into it in college, I worked at the college radio station, and there was an issue with financial impropriety with one of the leaders of the college. So I was doing the news one night, and I locked the door, and I took over the radio station.
That's epic.
And I spent 90 minutes laying down the entire case for why the president of the university at the time should be fired.
Sure, that went over well.
Well, I was fired, as you might imagine, shortly thereafter. But the upside of that story, wasn't fired from being a student, but was fired from certainly working at the radio station, is someone heard my voice during that broadcast. And that person proxied my first voice acting job. That led to Southwest and Greyhound and MetLife and literally dozens of wonderful voice acting jobs over the years.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting.
That's a pretty cool side gig too, right?
Exactly. Not too bad.
I like it. Well, Mark, thank you so much for the time. Appreciate you, coming back to Eclipse. We're lucky to have you speaking, great thought leader in the industry and sharing content from the conference. So thank you so much. And for everyone joining at home, where can they find you, Mark?
On Twitter @Stelzner or ia-hr.com. Thanks, everybody. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thanks so much. Thank you, guys. We'll see you next time on the Weekly Source.